it, okay? Because this about to be a whole journey and then some, okay? So I don't even know where to start. I don't know where to start, y'all. So basically I had her April 3rd. I don't know why I couldn't remember that, but I had her April 3rd. My due date wasn't supposed to be until July 28th. Well, 28th, 27th. They couldn't really figure out a day, so they just picked one. Yeah, so basically when I was 11, 12 weeks, I had to go to the hospital because I did have some bleeding, but it wasn't a lot, but it did scare me because I thought I was having a miscarriage. So after that, everything checked out, everything was fine. I followed up with my OB and everything was great at that point. When I went to have my anatomy scan, they checked my cervix and then, you know, they checked the baby or whatever, make sure she was doing fine and great and everything was growing the way that it needed to. When I went back again, they noticed that my cervix was shorter than the last time when they compared my last scan. So at first it was like, well, you know, we can go ahead and do a cerclage, or we can hold off and you take progesterone pills. So I'm like, okay, cool. Well, let's hold off. And I took the pills. Well, they were suppository, so they had to be inserted vaginally. And I was doing that, but then I went back and my cervix ended up being shorter. So at that point, they were like, yeah, let's go ahead and do the cerclage. And they admitted me to the hospital just to make sure that I wasn't going into labor at that point. So I was like 18 weeks and some days at that point. So yeah, too early for baby to come. I was admitted to the hospital, and when I had my cerclage done, if you don't know what a cerclage is, it's when they go in vaginally and they basically sew up your cervix. Sounds painful, but I didn't feel anything. When they did that, I ended up being 1 centimeter dilated at that point. So they kind of got me like right there, okay? Like my cervix was not trying to work with me. So literally later that night, like I kept saying like my back was hurting, and like this was the first time my back was hurting that bad, to the point where I'm just like, I felt uncomfortable, but it wasn't bad to where I thought maybe let me go to the hospital. But then again, I wouldn't have thought that that's what active labor was, because I'd never been in labor. So basically that night, so it started April 2nd, which was that Sunday, and I had her that Monday. So basically that Sunday night was when we moved everything in, and around 11 o'clock my water broke. And at first I thought I just peed on myself, because it felt like, well, again, this is a little TMI, but I have peed on myself, okay? When I was pregnant, my bladder was so weak. Like I could laugh, I could cough, and I would just pee on myself sometimes. And not like full blown pee on myself, but it was a few little trickles. So this time I was like, did I just pee on myself? Because I literally like pushed or like pressed down in that area, and it was like, it felt like a little gush, but not a gush where I thought my water broke. I just thought I peed on myself at that point. So I ended up going to the bathroom, straddle over the toilet. I see like a little drip or whatever. So I'm really thinking, okay, I just peed on myself. But I wipe and I'm like, this is clear, like no color to it at all. So I'm like, I don't know what this is. And then literally I just start to pour. So I'm like, okay, yeah, my water just broke. So I had to wake up my boyfriend. And at that point, I want to say he probably had like 30 minutes of sleep. I felt so bad. I didn't even want to wake him up. That's how bad I felt. But I knew I needed to wake him up because we need to go to the hospital. So I called my mom and I'm like, hey, my water broke. She's like, are you sure? Like you just didn't pee on yourself? And I'm like, no, my water broke. And I had to like kind of like, you know, show her the water was dripping. I had to stand over a towel. That's how much my water was coming out. So at that point, what happened? I laughed because it was funny. Like I was so calm, okay? I don't know why I was calm, but I really was calm. Like I wasn't worried about anything. Like the thought of her not making it, or her not, I don't know, I guess like, I don't know what I was picturing in my head, but I honestly wasn't worried. I thought, okay, they're gonna be able to stop this. Like, I'm not gonna have her today. Like, I didn't think that I was having her. Truthfully, I did not think that I was having her. Truthfully. I don't feel like that was a word. Y'all, don't do me, okay? In this video, don't do me. I just be talking. But, I didn't think that I was gonna have her. I really didn't. So, basically, I woke up my boyfriend, and he was looking at me like, huh? What do you mean? So, he's like, do I call 911? What do I do? I'm like, I don't know, I guess. So, he called 911. He let them know, like, hey, my girlfriend's water just broke, blase, blase, woo, woo. You know, they asked me how far along I was. And at that point, I was only 23 weeks and 3 days. Okay? So, when we got to the hospital, like, and they had to break everything down to me, which I'm kind of skipping parts here, but I'm going to go back. When they had to, like, break everything down to me, they were like, it's a very slim chance that she'll make it. Basically, if they didn't see any signs of her breathing on her own, they were not going to do anything. They were not going to intervene. They weren't going to do anything. They were just going to be like, okay, you know, that's it. And basically, she wasn't going to be here. I'm trying not to get ahead of myself. Ooh, I'm sorry. Oh, even though she's here and she's healthy, that was the scariest moment of my life as a first-time mom. Like, you don't expect to hear that. You're just hoping for the best, and at this point, all I was leaning on was God. But to backtrack a little bit, so the ambulance got here, and they were very fast. They were very quick, and the first hospital that we went to wasn't the hospital that I was originally gonna deliver at, or where my OB was connected to. So we went to that hospital, and they were like, okay, well, let's check. Let's make sure, like, your water really did break. So they confirmed it. They did a test. My water really did break. And they were like, okay, well, we got to send you over to the main hospital where if your baby does come, they have, you know, the right equipment and things like that, where they have like an actual NICU for her to, you know, stay in if she was to come early. So they ended up transferring me to that hospital, and at first the doctor was like, okay, well, we'll see if we can hold off and keep her in a little bit longer. But they noticed that I had an infection, and it was not going to be safe for her to stay inside. So at that point, I want to say it was it had to be at least, well, I would say like 1 or 2 in the morning, or maybe even 3 in the morning at this point. But basically, that's when they said I had an infection and she wouldn't be able to stay in any longer, they gave me the option to either have her vaginally, like go through the whole labor process, have her vaginally, or go ahead and have a C-section. And when they gave me those options, it really wasn't options, because 1, I had an infection. 2, I still had my cerclage in. So even though my water broke, physically down there, I was not dilated. And then 2, if I did have her vaginally, it was a chance that her head could get stuck and she not make it. So of course, I'm trying to give my baby the best opportunity to make it here safely and healthy and healthy. You know, just giving her the best chance possible. So I opted to have the C-section, and a part of me was nervous, a part of me was scared, but another part of me really held on to faith in God, and I really truly believed that everything was going to be okay. I really, like, you know, you hear people say or talk about the NICU, and until you really go through it, you don't know what you're going through, or you don't know or have true understanding of what somebody else could be going through if they do end up going through that journey. And when they say it's a journey, it's a journey. I think going through what I went through helped me to be stronger, truly, truly stronger. And it made me realize I was stronger than I thought I was. But basically, I had her around 4:50 in the morning. Well, of course, they wheeled me back and all that good stuff. But y'all, I was high as a kite, okay? The drugs had me high as a kite. My boyfriend told me, listen, all you were doing was smiling and I was nervous. So I was like, I'm sorry. The drugs was good. I didn't have any sleep. My back, like I actually started to go through labor and I didn't realize my back pain was my labor. Like I was having back labor pains. And it got to a point where I was like, I'm like, okay, hold on. I can't talk right now. I'm going through like a contraction type of thing. So basically they wheeled me to the back, laid me down, gave me the epidural, and I had her around 4:50 in the morning. She came out, and I know my boyfriend, he was like, she's breathing, the baby's out, you know, she's good. And that's when they went ahead and intubated her. So at that point, I was still very much out of it. My boyfriend had left and he had to go down to the NICU with them, with the baby, and then he was gonna come back up. So for a while, like I was out of it. I didn't really come back to it, or like back to my awareness of what was going on, until they rolled me into the recovery room. And at that point, I think my mom was like, hey, I'm almost there, blase blase. So it was a lot. It was stressful, but overall I'm glad that she's here. It truly was a scary experience. She definitely like one for the books if I choose to have any more kids. But it definitely does make me nervous to think about having more kids. So I knew at some point I could probably have her early, but I was really holding on to the fact that, okay, well, I'm not walking around a lot. You know, I stay in bed, I stay off my feet, I don't do too much. So I should be good to make it through full term. But that didn't happen. But even though I wish I didn't have that experience, I'm grateful for the experience. I'm grateful for the journey, because I feel like everything happens for a reason. And I think about, okay, well, if she did stay in longer, you know, would she have made it full term? You know, were there going to be other complications that would have, you know, affected her or anything? So, you know, we are here today. She is 4 months. See her little face? My baby is 4 months old. She's doing good. The only thing that she's on is oxygen right now to help build her little lungs. But other than that, my baby is healthy. She eats good, sleeps good, and she is truly my miracle. So I couldn't be more happy with the gift that I was given. But that is it. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I will have more videos coming to y'all soon.